Hey guys, welcome to my lab. Professor Walnut here, back again with week 4 of the Malamar Games. This time around we rolled what I think will probably end up being the least interesting out of all of our possible outcomes, but we rolled No Dynamax. And that sounds great, but for simplicity we ended up playing it on Series 10 so that we didn't even have the access to the Dynamax button, so the format is literally just Series 10. That said, it was still fun to get back to it. It was one of my favorite formats in Sword and Shield so far. And yeah, I've still got a pretty good game for you here coming up. This time around, I'm actually just using a team that I used on my channel a while back since I was familiar with it. Specifically, it was the Fling Whimsicott Weakness Policy Calyrex team that included Nihilego and Urshifu, the water form. The Fling specifically was there to fling a Pitaya Berry so that after proccing Weakness Policy, Calyrex would get to +3 special attack and then just go in. Nihilego was running the pretty standard Power Herb Meteor Beam set. I don't think we need a whole lot of introduction to the team, to be honest, so let's go ahead and get into the battle. Alright, here we go. So you can see that I'm running this Calyrex-Shadow team with a lot of potential to snowball with Whimsicott. However, I realized that Umbi was running something that has double access to wide guard, which is incredibly scary for me, so that as a baseline sort of limits my options. So you can see me thinking here, trying to figure out what I want to do. I believe I still went with Calyrex to start. No, okay, so I decided that Nihilego is a good option here, and there are a number of reasons for that. First of all, I'm sort of expecting the speedy sun mode with Lilligant and Torkoal, so I wanted to go for the Power Orb Meteor Beam to just one-shot Torkoal as much as I possibly could. You can see me waffling here a little bit, but ultimately I don't think Rillaboom gives me a very much in this matchup, aside from maybe terrain control, but honestly, that's still not much. And then Incineroar, I think, has some applications, but for the beginning here, I wanted to go with the few that I chose here. You'll see Umbi taking his time as well, trying to really figure out what I want to do with my team, I'm sure. And yeah, here we go. So, as I thought, Umbi leads the Lilligant and Torkoal. So, already I'm in a decent position. Even with the sun up, with Tailwind, I can just go straight for the Meteor Beam. However, that is incredibly telegraphed, right? So, I'm in a position where I think maybe Torkoal would protect here. So instead, I go for the Sludge Bomb onto Lilligant, as I am basically forced to set up Tailwind. You can see my Whimsicott's running Sunny Day. In this matchup it's actually useless, but there are a number of other possible matchups here in Series 10 where that could be useful. So yeah, I get this lead correct. I think that was probably also telegraphed, and I decide, you know, even if you still attack here, yeah, I take a lot of damage, but I still take out Lilligant. But however, it is a Focus Sash Lilligant, so we're about to take a Sleep Powder here, unfortunately. So that's going to be something I will know and understand going into future turns. But for now, it's kind of awkward for us. Obviously, the move that Nihilego chooses this turn does not really matter, and I don't want to just outright lose Whimsicott here. So I'm thinking about switching. It's difficult to make a good choice here, honestly. Already I'm sort of on the back foot, and I'm feeling a little bit like this matchup isn't really isn't great for what I brought. But yeah, obviously I bring in a resist. Lilligant protects so that it can stick around for another turn, and Nihilego stays asleep. So we'll be taking a full power eruption in the sun. It's gonna hurt. Yeah, Urshifu below half. Thankfully Nihilego's special defense is pretty great and it resists, so you know, now that we have a chance to wake up, I just want to go straight for the Meteor Beam onto the Torkoal and go for an attempted KO on the Lilligant with Aqua Jet. Now, it is always possible that the Lilligant could switch out, which would be awkward, but even then we do a little bit of damage. to whatever comes in. And the Pokemon that they've got in the back are things that will take at least a bit of damage from Aqua Jet. Now in the sun, of course, it's not going to do a ton, but it is what it is at this point. So, as we thought here, Logan's going to switch out for future application, and in comes Necrozma. So now I'm thinking, you know, I'm in a decent position here if I can break the, well, no, it doesn't have Shadow Shield, but if we can get a little bit of damage on it and make it so that we can KO with Calyrex later. Sorry, I said I went for Aqua Jet. I didn't need to go for Aqua Jet, I was actually faster thanks to the Tailwind. And Torkoal, not knowing whether it's going to take a hit here, decides to go for Heat Wave, which is still enough to KO Urshifu. And of course, Nihilego stayed asleep there, but now I can bring Calyrex in, and things are still a little bit scary, and I'm feeling a little iffy about just clicking Astral Barrage. I think in retrospect I should have, but I'm pretty sure I did not do that here. Yeah, I went for the substitute, sort of trying to bait out like a reveal on the wide guard here, but ultimately it really only buys me a turn and also reveals that I have substitute. So here goes the sub. Now it's actually much more detrimental than that as well, but we do get the wake up here, we do get the Meteor Beam off, which means we're going to take the Torkoal down. However, that honestly just ends up helping Umbi here. To some degree, anyway. Off it goes. Goodbye, Torkoal. And yeah, Necrozma here just decides to go straight for the Moongeist Beam. Well, that's... Yeah, it ends up basically just making it so that I waste a turn. And I think that the idea behind this was definitely to make sure that they didn't like accidentally set up Trick Room while letting me get behind a substitute. But yeah, now we're going to see that he's brought Lilligant back in, which means he's got Sleep Powder Pressure again. And I 100% do not want either of my Pokemon to fall asleep here. But you can see me thinking, well, I could still attack. I could still just take it as it is what it is type situation. Like I'll accept the consequences. But it's difficult. It's very difficult to choose here. But yeah, ultimately I decide, okay, I just want to get the poison onto Necrozma here, and I'll just go ahead and try to protect. And this was a really interesting play. He actually goes for an after you Trick Room, which is incredible. And honestly, I should have just gone straight for an attack here because I really did not see that potential coming. But alas, we are where we are, and honestly, that's sort of where the battle fell apart. There's not a whole lot of way for me to come back here. Like, yeah, I can try switching around, but I've got to, like, try to make it through so many turns here. I think I do decide to switch in Whimsicott here just to soak a hit. I'm thinking about clicking substitute, but, like, I'm literally just sitting here like, what is my option here? Like, there's literally nothing. So it's a really obvious protect turn on my Nihilego. So that's why I didn't end up clicking that there. So, but yeah, we take the Moongeist Beam here. Onto the Whimsicott, which I was kind of hoping would just KO, but unfortunately it doesn't, which reveals my Pitaya Berry, which reveals what my strategy is going to be here. So, yeah, ultimately he had an incredibly safe play to make here. I probably should have just protected. But here we are with Sleepy Nihilego again. Thankfully, it can take a hit a little bit. I'm trying to fling. I can't fling anything. I'm not holding anything. But yeah, it ultimately doesn't matter what I use with Whimsicott here, because it's just going to go down to an attack. Yeah, and here comes the Meteor Beam. They're just trying to get themselves boosted up and ready to go. which honestly I don't think they needed, and to some degree they could have. I don't think they would have even thrown here if they had missed, to be honest. They were not under that much pressure here. So yeah, either way, they don't miss. They take Whimsicott, get their special attack boost, which I guess could potentially matter for KOing Nihilego, but honestly I don't think so. And yeah, the Grass Knot, we survive it, but we're still asleep. We can try to protect here. And yeah, that's exactly what we try to do. We try to wake up with Nihilego and protect and just make it a double protect turn with Calyrex as well. So Nihilego stays asleep, which means we're losing it. Calyrex obviously gets its protect off. Yep, and there goes Nihilego. So now you see me just sort of desperately trying to get out of this situation. I think if this double protect went off, there was a possibility for me to win. But I can't remember how many turns of Trick Room were at this point. Either way, as you'll see, I do not get the double protect off, and Umbi takes game 1. Well played to him. This is where I learned that, as usual, this team has some serious Trick Room issues. And I'll just have to try to play in such a way that I put enough pressure on that they have a hard time setting Trick Room up. And here's game 2. You can see this time around I'm kind of thinking Incineroar for some fake out pressure is actually a pretty good idea, though I haven't fully committed to that yet. That said, I do kind of feel like Calyrex and Incineroar could be pretty nice here. So you'll see me trying to decide between basically the Nihilego and the Whimsicott. The Nihilego for some more offensive pressure, or the Whimsicott to make Calyrex snowball potentially after I have successfully denied Trick Room, and after I maybe like parting shot out with Incineroar, something like that. Yeah, it's a difficult choice, honestly, and that's part of the problem with teams like this, I think, is that you've got Pokemon that always want to come together, and sometimes just don't do enough alone. But yeah, I ultimately decided that Whimsicott would be a nice option here so that I could really get the strategy going. Even though Umbi has already seen what that strategy is, I figure if I put Whimsicott in the back and get it in next to Calyrex later, maybe I can get it going. And here we are. This time around he went with Torkoal Stakataka, and once again I am scared of Wide Guard. Like, honestly, the fact that I chose Calyrex as my restricted here, and Umbi ended up with 2 Wide Guard Pokemon, terrifying for me. Absolutely terrifying for me. See all the abilities activate, and I'm trying to decide what I want to do. Now, I think about, yeah, Fake Out into Stakataka and just Astral Barrage, and I think ultimately that this was a fine play this turn, because it cuts the damage on... It allows Trick Room... It doesn't allow Trick Room to go up, and it cuts the damage from Torkoal's Eruption in the sun. That said, I could have also leveraged the fact that both Pokemon are slower so that I could just try to double up into stack and get the KO. But yeah, here we get Astral Barrage off. And we end up doing absurd damage thanks to a crit on the Torkoal, which honestly puts us in a phenomenal spot. And obviously you can see that we also did a ridiculous amount of damage to Stakataka there as well, leaving it, I believe, in KO range from a Sun-boosted Flare Blitz. So I'm feeling a little bit less concerned this game about the potential for Trick Room to go up. And now we've got Indeedee coming in. Now that's got redirection, but redirection doesn't matter if you're just clicking Astral Barrage, right? Of course, Stakataka has the Psychic Seed here, but after the special defense, or after the special attack boost, the special defense boost is basically negated, which means we would do a similar amount of damage that we did the last turn. And since that did over 50%, we are absolutely going to KO the Stakataka, unless it clicks Wide Guard, in which case we're still going to hit it with Flare Blitz. And honestly, like the most useless move right now on Umbi's end would probably be Follow Me and Wide Guard, so I figure like their Hail Mary is probably an attempt at Follow Me Trick Room. So here's the Follow Me. And here's our Astral Barrage. Doesn't affect the Indeedee, but we don't really need it to, because it takes down the Stakataka. And we'll see the Flare Blitz come out into the Indeedee here, doing pretty huge damage to it thanks to the sun. Yeah, it's in range of another one, obviously. And let's see, your last Pokemon here was what? I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Ah, yeah, it was Necrozma. So once again, I'm worried about the Wide Guard play here, but at this point, it doesn't really matter. I can just Throat Chop in an Astral Barrage, because Indeedee's not really threatening us at all. And if they're Wide Guarding, they're not clicking Trick Room. And again, they don't Wide Guard. We managed to get ourselves in basically the perfect position in this game to be able to sweep. And obviously, it helped a lot that we crit the Torkoal and we just got a special attack boost immediately. So if we ran that back and we didn't crit the Torkoal, we would have to click the Astral Barrage one more time. But then hope that we could also just KO with Flare Blitz or something like that if they decide to click Wide Guard and switch into Indeedee that turn. Or even just switch into Indeedee and click Trick Room. But honestly, I think we would have been able to KO with Flare Blitz at that range as well. So even with the crit, I think we were in a decent position. So here we are at Game 3, and I'm thinking this whole time, he has not clicked Wide Guard. Maybe I do actually have the opportunity to just go in with the strategy and do a Pataya weakness policy Astral Barrage sweep. And you see I locked that in a little bit quickly. I probably could have thought about it more, but here we go into Game 3. So here we are, Torkoal, Stakataka again, and you'll see that once again, I unfortunately have lost my nerve. Because yeah, I thought, you know, no Wide Guard this whole time maybe means they don't have it, maybe means they're unwilling to click it. However, now I just wanted to go for the fling but target down Torkoal, whereas I could have also just 100% clicked fling into Astral Barrage this turn and just outright KO'd the Stakataka. So that was my misplay. I needed to be less scared of Torkoal, I think. Though admittedly, it is a bit of an offensive threat. I think one of my, well, it's difficult to say if one of my Pokemon would have survived the turn if they had just decided to click the Eruption. But even so, obviously they did not do that, and now we end up incredibly behind this game, whereas otherwise we could have ended up very much ahead. So here's the Trick Room, and honestly this is where everything starts to go downhill. Once again, once Trick Room goes up against this team, I've got trouble. So I figure maybe I can get myself successfully behind a substitute if I can switch in Incineroar, Intimidate Stakataka, and take not too much damage on the Calyrex. And then we can try to click Protect the next turn and just go from there and trying to stall out Trick Room. Ultimately, though, it's an incredibly hard position to be in. And of course, I can't Fake Out because Indeedee has got the Psychic Terrain up. That would have been one reason to bring Rillaboom over Incineroar here. Although, if I had brought Rillaboom over Incineroar, I wouldn't have access to Intimidate. So it's always sort of a risk versus reward choice when you're bringing what you want to bring. So yeah, the Intimidate goes off here, which weakens Stack Attacker's Gyro Ball, which is nice. So we however, Indeedee just decides I'm going to go for Psyshock. It's not very effective, but it still does enough damage to get me below the 25% range, which means that I cannot click Substitute. So, unfortunate, but there we are. But this turn I can still protect. We're not in as good of a position as I thought we would be, but I can still protect. And I try to go for a Throat Chop on the Stack Attack. I think ultimately I should have clicked Astral Barrage, not Astral Barrage, Flare Blitz, just to get more damage than I would have otherwise. But I was also expecting either a Follow Me or a defensive switch. But yeah, here's our Protect. There's the Follow Me. And of course, the Protect was incredibly telegraphed, so Incineroar commonly doesn't run Protect. Mine is not running Protect, so they just get a free Body Press off, which again was a turn that I could have clicked Astral Barrage knowing that, hey, this is an incredibly telegraphed Protect. Maybe I should just go for the KO here. I think that would have kept me in the game as well, to be honest, because I would stand a much better chance of stalling out Trick Room after that. But ultimately, I decided to make the safe plays rather than the risky plays, even though I was already behind and I needed to make the risky plays in order to try to win the game. So, Torkoal comes back out, Calyrex just protected, which means we've got some trouble. I feel very much like I want to keep Calyrex alive because that's like my main method for doing damage right now. So I just try to switch Calyrex out and then go for damage onto Stack Attacka. Sorry, I go for damage onto Torkoal. I think I should have gone for damage on Stack Attacka there. Because Stack Attacka had already gotten its defense up, or its special defense up, so I needed to do more to it. Ultimately, it didn't matter, though, because Incineroar just goes down there from that crit. I think we survive without the crit there, based on how much damage it did the turn before, but it would have been really close. And yeah, Stack Attacka gets its boost, which means it's got a defense boost now as well. And Eruption, unfortunately, is just going to totally wipe out Whimsicott here. So yeah, now we're down to our last two Pokemon, which admittedly are Nihilego and Calyrex. Calyrex is very low, but it's still a powerhouse, as is Nihilego. So I've got a Protect turn this turn, I believe, to stall out Trick Room, which is very telegraphed, but unlike the last time I tried to do something like this, it doesn't really give them anything if I just Protect. Unless this was like Iron Defense Stack Attacka, I suppose, but even that doesn't really help a whole lot. Yeah, so it's just Gyro Ball and it's Eruption. Which, you know, if I didn't Protect, would have just wiped me out immediately. So here we are with Trick Room over. The sun is gone. And I needed to think harder about some way to deny Trick Room here because ultimately I decide to split my damage so that I can get the boost from me. Oh, no, never mind, sorry. I did try to deny Trick Room. I apologize. Rewatching this again. And it's a decent play because Torkoal protected anyway, so if I had tried to Meteor Beam, then it wouldn't have done anything. However, as you'll see, thanks to the special defense boost from the Psychic Seed when Indeedee swapped in, it's not going to be enough. So they barely take damage there from Astral Barrage, and the Grass Knot, yeah, it kind of hurts a little, but again, it basically just bounces off. That said, they decided not to click Trick Room again because they realized that they can pretty comfortably just beat the Nihilego. Which does end up begging the question, what happens if I had protected there and gone for Grass Knot? Maybe then I would have had enough damage to KO Stakataka the following turn. That said, it turns out, I think, to not be true, because yeah, we just don't quite KO here, so. Between Earth Power and another Gyro Ball, they don't even need to set up another Trick Room, and they take the KOs. So, that's the game. That's the best, the best of 3 set, and yeah, Umbi wins. Very well played on his part. I think there are a lot of places where I could have done a whole lot better, or at least not been psyched out by the possibility of wide guard. And I think ultimately I probably should have tried to either practice Series 10 a bit more before coming into this, or looked back more on teams that I've used in the past, but honestly, it's difficult sometimes. It was difficult to have the time that week to do that, unfortunately. So I think I played decently, but ultimately I made some poor judgment calls and I lost the matches because of it. So yeah, good game to my opponent. As always, thanks so much for watching. I know I've been a bit slow on content creation lately, so we've been only getting 1 video out per week, and I really appreciate y'all coming back and watching my videos. If you've enjoyed, leave a like, it really helps support me, and if you're new here, hit subscribe if you like what you saw. There will definitely be more coming, and I can comfortably say that we've got some crazy weeks coming up. Finally, check out my social media shown in the end card here, and also linked in the description below. I've got a few other links there for you to check out if you are interested. But yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.